Right now on Denver 7 News at 6 a.m.
We are in uncharted territory. The fact that an opinion has been leaked and it's been confirmed.
An investigation is underway into who leaked the Supreme Court draft opinion on abortion rights.
This morning, we're taking a 360 in-depth look at the ripple effect the breach is causing.
I'm Denver 7's Christian Lopez. New details on the small group that's under the microscope and why the FBI isn't involved yet.
And the nation's bank is about to raise interest rates again. The money moves you need to make to reduce costs.
Plus, the Avs dominate in Game 1 of the playoffs.
And the Colorado Avalanche. They lived up to their name, didn't they? They certainly came rolling down the mountains, the Rockies here.
Should we feel bad for the other team?
I don't know.
mean, that was a blowout.
I wish we could roll over some of those goals.
Yeah. Thanks for watching this morning as we look toward the Stanley Cup. Just a few more games to go.
That's right.
I'm Nicole Brady.
And I'm Brian Sanders. Good morning to you. We've got a flurry of goals on the ice and possible snow and rain across Colorado today, Lisa.
You're right. Yeah, it is snowing as we speak in the northern Front Range Mountains. It was coming down pretty good in a few spots in through Rocky Mountain National Park this morning. Right now here in town, things are pretty dry. We've got a lot of cloud cover, had some overnight showers, and we may even see a little bit more of this rain roll off the foothills this morning here over the I-25 corridor this morning, with more scattered storms and showers possible this afternoon. The mountains are going to pick up at least a few inches above about 10,000 feet today. At the bus stop this morning, mostly cloudy. It's going to be chilly, upper 30s and low 40s with really not much of a warm up. We're at about 50 degrees this afternoon, so make sure your kids have a jacket on when they leave the house today. We'll see more scattered rain and a few thunderstorms this afternoon, although the risk of severe weather is going to be pretty low. Upper 40s to low 50s here today, 30s and 40s in the mountains. Once we get past today's storm, there is some really warm weather on the way, but it's a nice combination this week, Jason, with rain and heat. Everything's going to be growing really nice this weekend.
And there were some areas of a little bit of slop, a little bit of slush up in Estes Park as I was looking at some of those cameras earlier. It's a lot more than that here along Berthoud Pass and over Loveland Pass, which remains closed down right now. This is Loveland Pass, US 6 right now with all that snow up there right now. They do have it closed because of a crash. This is Berthoud Pass where they have the passenger traction law in place right now, trying to go over those higher elevations. All right, take a look at the drive that we have on 285. We've had some very thick fog for us, wet conditions for us, going to or from Pine Junction, Conifer, Evergreen, places like that. Take a look at up and near Greeley and Loveland. This is I-25, the southbound side heading that way. And so you're looking at some wet conditions for us up to the north. But the overall drive times around town aren't too bad right now, which is a little bit surprising how the speeds are actually up with some of the wet weather we're dealing with. Some roads are drying out, other roads continue to be wet with a little bit of splashback for you right now.
Well, our country's highest court is on damage control today after a leaked draft decision revealed justices are leaning towards overturning Roe versus Wade and the right to an abortion.
We're going 360 this morning on the fallout, taking a closer look at the investigation into who exactly leaked the document. We're also hearing from two Colorado women with different perspectives after having abortions.
Also, Colorado lawmakers are working to strengthen a new law protecting access to reproductive care, including abortion. Denver 7's Christian Lopez kicks off our coverage from our newsroom, and Christian Chief Justice John Roberts has ordered an investigation into this leak.
Yeah, Chief Justice Roberts called the leak an egregious breach of trust, and he vowed that any attempt to undermine the integrity of the court would not succeed. The investigation will be led by the marshal of the court, who's also in charge of the Supreme Court's own police department, but it's still not clear how much experience they have conducting an investigation like this, and that's because a full decision has never been leaked before. And if they did find evidence of a crime, CNN reports that they could refer the case to the Justice Department for prosecution. But there's a very small group of people who could have had access to that document, just the 9 justices and the people working within their chambers. So that's about 50 people in total.
The clerks who work with the justices sign an oath that promises that they won't divulge secrets of the process. And there is a very, very small group of people that would be in a position to see a draft opinion and leak it.
Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser, who is a Democrat, called this uncharted territory and says it's going to be hard for the Supreme Court to gain back the public's trust.
Chief Justice Roberts is worried about the legitimacy of the court. And this decision, coupled now with this leak, is a dagger to the court's legitimacy. This is antithetical to how the Supreme Court has operated as an institution committed to a deliberative process that is in a trusted environment. This is a breach of trust.
And you may be wondering why Chief Justice Roberts doesn't call for the FBI or Justice Department to investigate like some lawmakers have. He's known for trying to refocus the court to its original role of restraint and the separation of powers. Court watchers say he'll try to avoid getting those agencies involved since they're part of the executive branch. Live in the newsroom this morning, I'm Christian Lopez, Denver 7.
Interesting. Thank you, Christian. Two Colorado women are sharing their very personal experiences with us. Selina and Rachel both had abortions, and both had similar reasons for doing it at the time, but now have different feelings. Here's Selina.
Not just financially, but I think physically and emotionally, I would not be as healthy of a person as I am right now. Abortion care doesn't have to be traumatic. It's societal stigma that traumatizes people.
Meanwhile, Rachel told us she regrets having an abortion and does not believe she had the moral authority to take a life.
I made that decision really early in the pregnancy. I think I was trying to run from my consequences, from the experience. I had made the choice to end a life, and I did that pretty deliberately, honestly. But I thought it was worth it for the future that I wanted.
Now, with or without Roe v. Wade, Colorado allows abortions. That right was put into law this legislative session, although that doesn't mean it's permanent. It's a statutory change, meaning lawmakers or voters could undo it with a simple majority vote. There is an effort now to create a ballot question that would put the law into Colorado's constitution. The ballot question is in the works for 2024. Anti-abortion groups in Colorado are also working on a measure of their own. Initiative 56 would ban abortions at all stages of pregnancy, except for a few instances like to save the mother's life. Supporters are in the process of collecting signatures to get that on the ballot.
Abortion has been one of our country's most divisive issues for more than a generation now. And in a recent poll from ABC News and the Washington Post, 54% of Americans said the Supreme Court should uphold Roe v. Wade. 28% said it should be overturned. In that same poll, 70% said the decision to have an abortion should be between a woman and her doctor. 24% surveyed said it should be regulated by law. Our 360 in-depth coverage continues in our next half hour, and we're looking at what this decision to overturn 50-year-old Roe versus Wade could mean for other major historical rulings, including that for same-sex marriage.
Borrowing money is about to get more expensive. Today, the Federal Reserve is set to announce another interest rate hike. Denver 7's Veronica ACOSTA joins us to explain what impacts this could have, Veronica, on your life.
So already new this morning, U.S. stocks, they are up for the third day in a row. Investors, they are anxious for the feds to get better control over our inflation. So at some point today, we could see a key interest rate increase by 0.5 percentage point. This would be the sharpest increase that we've seen in more than 20 years, since the year 2000. We saw a previous rate hike. This was just 2 months ago, back in March. At the time, the Fed bumped rates 0.25%. Now, throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, the Federal Reserve helped the U.S. economy by dropping rates to near zero. Now, feds want to create this so-called soft landing. So basically, that means they're trying to slow the economy enough to control inflation, but not slow it enough to send the country into a recession. If you're wondering this morning, where will I feel this rate increase in my life? Experts say credit cards and home equity lines of credit is where you're going to get hit first. Listen to the advice from these experts.
Pay down debt. Debt can really be a more significant burden as interest rates rise, and especially so if the economy does slow substantially or end up in a recession. The less debt you have, the better you'll be able to weather the unknown from an economic perspective.
So here's the not so great news. Borrowing money will actually cost you more with that increase in that key interest rate. But the good news is that the money you save, it'll be worth more as well. We're live in Denver this morning on Veronica, ACOSTA, Denver 7.
Save, not spend. Some of us might have to change our behaviors a little. The Avs are off to a good start in the playoffs.
And hopefully they can stay hot. They need 15 more wins for the Stanley Cup title, but the team won game 1 of their series against the Predators, and it was a blowout from the start. They scored 5 goals in the first period. Nate McKinnon had 2. Cale Makar added another +2 assists. They won 7-2. And game 2 is tomorrow night at Ball Arena. Lisa.
It was fun to watch, and I'm sure it was loud inside Ball Arena last night. Now it's 6:10. We're looking at a pretty mild start to the morning. Roads are going to be a little damp after some overnight rain. We're going to see a pretty slow warm-up. Low to mid-40s here by about 10 o'clock on your wake-up forecast. We'll be in the low 50s this afternoon. More rain on the way. I'll show you the timing of some of today's storms, plus just how warm it's going to get starting tomorrow.
And that rain might slow you down just a little bit, or at least the wet roads might slow you down a little bit. We also have some fog in the area, snow up in the higher elevations, and you can see along 6th Avenue, it's actually moving along fairly well on this eastbound side with a little bit of that wet weather that we're dealing with here around town. So some roads are drying out, like the ramp going here to Sheridan, but the highways are still a little bit wet. We'll take a look at all of them for you coming up in just a bit.
The Great Resignation is ramping up. We'll take a look at the industries with the most job openings right now.
Plus some feng shui for your health, the new research that might have you rearranging some furniture soon.